Hello and welcome to Unibet's Inside the Octagon. I'm John Gooden with our resident expert analyst, Dan the Outlaw Hardy. For the first time in its history, the UFC is heading to Scotland, where perennial contender Michael the Count Bisping takes on former middleweight title challenger Thales Leites. With an action-packed card featuring Ross Pearson against Evan Dunham in the co-main and a host of Scottish stars, it's set to be an unmissable debut night in Glasgow.
This is the UFC, and we are the world watching!
The atmosphere is absolutely unbelievable.
Oh, good knee! That was amazing.
And that is it. It is all over.
Oh! Crashed him with it. Wow! Another finish.
Just listen to this crowd.
The wait is finally over.
It's been a long time coming.
So live on July 18th from the SSE Hydro in Glasgow, Dan, we have a fantastic main card headlined by Bisping and Leites.
It's a really exciting card. I'm excited to see Joe Duffy finally get on the card, and also Ross Pearson, Evan Dunham. That is going to be a great matchup.
Also, we have Scottish stars on display, as well as Joanne Calderwood looks to make amends inside the Octagon.
Yeah, and hopefully Leon Edwards will spend a little longer inside the Octagon than 8 seconds this time.
Yeah, and Braveheart Stevie Ray making a return in front of his home fans, this time behind a full camp. So, that main event then, Dan, Michael Bisping, you can't tell that guy that he's not going to get a shot at a title. So he is coming well prepared. And one of the things that we've really learned about Michael Bisping over the years is that he really covers a lot of mat space in that octagon.
He does. He's a very active fighter. He's a very, very busy guy, and his conditioning backs it up as well. This is something that's always mentioned about Michael Bisping, his ability to push the fight for 5 rounds. And in the Tim Kennedy fight, that really showed. His footwork, his movement, same thing going into the Kung Lee fight. Always moving, always active, not standing still as a stationary target. And as you've got someone like Kung Lee, who is a dangerous striker with a lot of spinning kicks and spinning attacks, it's good to have that kind of footwork to get you out of the way.
He looked great in that fight as well.
He did. It's one of his best performances, in my opinion. I think he put his strikes together really well, as he did with CB Dollaway here. It's that constant movement, because in my opinion, you know, you watch this fight back and CB Dollaway was looking for that big knockout punch, very similar to what I'm expecting Leites to do on the feet. And similar to what Alan Belcher was doing as well. Bisping did a good job. You'll see him, he'll hit and he'll move back, he'll slip out of the way just enough to be able to step back in and hit him one more time. He's good, again, at like judging distance and getting himself out of the way and staying safe. Yeah,
a moving target, always more difficult to hit.
Yep.
The striking of Thales Leites then, Nova União product, and I think it was Abu Dhabi where we really saw how he's starting to really put it together. Yep. And he was concussive in that fight.
Yeah, well, you know, we chatted to Joe Silver, and there was a real vote of confidence from Jose Aldo, the featherweight champ, to say that Thales Leites, you know, he belongs in the UFC. He needs to be back in the UFC, and you know, he beat some good guys while he was away from the UFC, and upon his return, he's won 5 fights in a row, and he's beaten good guys as well.
Yeah.
Stepped in against Tom Watson, who's a fantastic kickboxer, and really just put his strikes together very well, wore him down, and weighed heavy on him throughout the fight. Against Trevor Smith in Abu Dhabi, as we saw, it was a first-round knockout. The big right hand is always doing the damage, as it did against Francis Carmont here.
And that was a surprise.
It was. I mean, Francis Carmont is known as a fantastic kickboxer, so for Leites to get a stoppage win over him, and in the fashion that he did, I mean, watch this. The right hand comes over the top, perfectly placed on the chin, followed by a shovel punch, which was one that really got the fight finished. More than anything, it's his confidence that's growing. You know, since he's had that vote of confidence from the champ, he started putting his strikes together. He's got a few good wins in a row now, 2 of them from stoppages from strikes. So, you know, the confidence is growing. And going into a fight with Michael Bisping, he needs the confidence to be able to close that range and crash into him.
And it's obviously worth saying at this stage that we've known him more as a grappler in the past. So now with the striking and grappling, that gives him many more ways in which he can win a fight.
Definitely.
But striking is Michael Bisping's domain. A former kickboxer, he throws a variety of strikes from all sorts of angles, and he just keeps on coming. Round 3's always a great round for Mr. Bisping.
Yeah, always a busy guy, as we were saying, but you know, when he sees he's got an opponent hurt, he's very good at closing the distance, but not rushing it, not taking too many risks.
Not overcommitting.
Exactly. He did the same thing in the Kung Lee fight. And in the Alan Belcher fight, Alan Belcher continued to push forward through the whole fight. He was getting quite frustrated with Bisping's movements. And it was the counter-punching moving backwards, which is really where Bisping has the whole division trumped, because not many people do it as well as him. I mean, arguably...
Very difficult to do.
Yeah, arguably Machida is probably the best at it, but being able to move backwards and slipping out of range to get straight back in. So he's not actually moving his feet away from his opponent, he's just moving his upper body, allows him to move straight back in and hit quickly after he's slipped a punch. Watch this intercepting jab against Kung Lee. This was really what affected the whole fight. Look at that placement. That's a long jab. He didn't step into it at all. He just extended his hand almost like a joust, and Kung Lee ran onto it.
Stops him right in his tracks.
Stops him perfectly, right where he needed to. And if Thales Leites is going to be pushing forward, if he can use those intercepting punches, it's going to slow that progression down. It's going to make Thales Leites more hesitant. And given the fact that although his striking is improving, it's still quite elementary in comparison to Michael Bisping's, it's going to start showing some cracks in his game, which hopefully Bisping can exploit later on in the fight.
Yeah, that jab is a very useful tool for him. He was doing exactly the same against CB Dollaway, just throwing it out and stopping CB from the takedown. And let's talk about takedowns then for Thales Leites, someone who we've known as a grappler. In order to get there, you need to take the fight down. And he's actually very good at doing that.
He is, but it's not the traditional wrestler style. He's not got a traditional freestyle wrestling
style. More of a judo, jiu-jitsu style.
Very much so. It's all about the body lock for Leites. He likes to get wrapped around the body and then climb on his opponent.
Reap the legs down.
Yeah, so watch this. Watch how he throws that leg around, gets the hook in, and then feeds it through to the back leg, to the right leg of Tom Watson. And as he's extending that left leg and kicking it out, it takes one leg away from Tom Watson. That foot never touched the floor on that takedown.
You need absolute confidence in that as well.
You do. But then, you know, to end up on the back of someone, and this as well, beautiful placement of the foot there, just to take Tom Watson's base away as he drags him to the floor. And again, it's the body lock around the waist.
Yeah.
You know, this is something that Bisping's got to watch out for.
Two very different directions as well to take down.
Yeah, he is going to try and close that distance. He's got a good double leg if he needs it, but predominantly he's going to try and push his fighter against the fence, clinch them around the waist, and then start working these trips. You can see it just there, tying up the legs, and even gets the takedown without having that one tied up. Looks for the trips from behind as well. A constant smothering style, always looking to take the base away of his opponent and get in a good position on the floor where he can start working his excellent ground game.
Yeah, but you're going to have to try and get Michael Bisping down, and he has shown time after time. He has fantastic takedown defence. He's got a great ability to stay, good balance, you know, really stay on his feet. And if you do get him down, he just pops straight back up. Yeah,
he's a very tenacious guy. You know, this is one thing that I realised about Michael Bisping before either of us had even had a fight in MMA. He's a tenacious guy. It's in his nature. He's very competitive, and he will not give an inch. If he can stop the guy taking him down, he's going to do it. And as you can see here, Tim Kennedy was chasing the takedown over and over again. Bisping did a fantastic job of limp-legging out of it, keeping pressure on his head, stuffing takedowns like that.
Never accepts it, does he?
No, not at all. And he's good at reading his opponent as well. You can see how he gets his hips away very quickly in circles. And watch this, CB Dollaway's reaching for that far leg. At the moment, he's posting on the bicep. But as you'll see, when the video plays on, the progression, he's going to pull that arm inside and underhook. And that's going to be important against Leites, because that's going to prevent that body lock, which Leites likes to use to trip.
Yeah, nice space across the hip as well.
Definitely. Always pummeling in. And even on a deep shot like that, CB Dollaway is a fantastic wrestler.
Yeah.
However Michael managed to get his hips away from that, I will never know. It's a really nice defence. And this as well. I want to talk about this. Just watch this hand. As the camera angle changes, we're going to see it come into play here. This is called a thigh pry. So what he's doing here, it's coming from an overhook on the arm of CB Dollaway, again defending that takedown, and then forces it into the inside thigh of his opponent. It's very difficult to get past that. It effectively creates a wall. And what he does here, he manages to stuff the takedown, get CB Dollaway on his back, and then work some ground and pound. So he's not scared to go to the ground. Michael's quite knowledgeable as far as grappling goes. Obviously, in comparison to Leites, you know, it's still quite elementary, but he's willing to go there. He's got the confidence, and he likes to punch.
Thales Leites, then, when he gets to the mat, he is dangerous. He's got a ridiculous number of submission wins on his record. He's a jiu-jitsu black belt, fastest promoted black belt under Welton Ribeiro. So this guy's been a master of this kind of range for a long, long time.
He has, and you can see it in his contest against Ed Herman. He's trying to pass the guard. As Ed Herman is scrambling, takes the back, gets the hooks in. A very nice position to be in here for him, because he's strong in this position. And as you can see against Tom Watson, watch this. So Tom Watson's using his right arm, his right hand to control the choking arm of Leites, becoming quite a problem for Leites. So what he's going to do is he's going to control it with his top hand, with his left hand. He's going to push it down and watch what he does with his right leg. Really nice. Brings it over the top.
Oh dear.
Traps it, crosses his legs.
No more defence.
Now he's only having to deal with one arm while he's working the choke. It's a nice little tie-up that he uses. And again with Tim Boesch being a fantastic wrestler as well, on his back here against Thales Leites, who's working for the arm triangle here, one of his favourite submissions.
14 wins by arm triangle.
That's amazing. So he's trying to push this elbow up here. What he's trying to do is get his head on the other side of it so he can work a triangle choke. Now, you'll see Tim Boesch escape here because Thales Leites was in half guard. So following that, he got straight into the mount and went straight for the opposite side. And it was literally right after the other submission was escaped. And he corrected his mistake this time. He passed to side control and he uses this knee and the hip just here to keep distance from Boesch so he can't turn into him and get that elbow clear like he did before. Yeah, and as you see here, he passes out, gives himself a little scratch there when he's unconscious. Not really sure what that's about, but
really odd.
I'll ask him when I see him. But again, fantastic ground game. Very confident in his ground game, and obviously with his striking as well improving, that's going to make his ground game so much more dangerous because he has the courage to chase him for those takedowns. And
what a story that would be if he can continue that run and actually make a play for the gold after having obviously not been successful against long-time champion Anderson Silva, as was. So interesting stuff. Well, let's take a look at the facts and the stats then for this matchup. We have two absolute veterans of the sport, and I think what this tells me is a striker grappler, but obviously the striking of Thales Leites isn't really factored in because it's a bit new world for him.
It is, it's new to everybody, and it will be new to Michael Bisping as well. Obviously he's done a little bit of research, but we don't know what Thales Leites is going to show up. He may come and grapple, he may have improved his striking again. But one thing that we do know is that Michael Bisping is going to definitely want to keep this fight on the feet. He's not going to chase the takedown, and at 65% takedown defence, that's pretty strong as well in this division full of wrestlers, and given the fact that he's fought guys like Rashad Evans and people like that, you know, it's worth noting that it's going to be difficult to get him to the mat, so Leites may have to use his striking.
Yeah, okay, right, thank you very much. So can Michael Bisping claim the victory and rebuild his case for title contention, or can Thales Leites extend his long-running win streak and edge closer to another crack at the middleweight crown? This is all set to be a classic showdown, but who's your pick to win? How do you see the fight finishing? As always, there are odds to be found on every round, and it's all brought to you by Unibet. Watch and bet live with Unibet, the official betting partner of the UFC. So on to the co-main event, Ross Pearson versus Evan Dunham. Ross Pearson coming off a knockout of the night victory of Sam Stout, and he'll be looking to carry on with that momentum. And Dan, I know that you know these guys very, very well indeed. You've trained with both. Yeah, this fight is worth your ticket money alone, honestly. You're guaranteed a good fight with Ross Pearson. You know what he brings to the table. He's a traditional, gritty British kickboxer. He loves to push forward. He's got big power in both hands, and he's not afraid to throw. And he'll always put himself at harm's reach as well to land that shot. So expect an exciting fight. Expect him to take some risk. I mean, watch the replay on this. Watch the intentions in his eyes when he's throwing this left hook. And Sam Stout is one of the heaviest hitters in the division. A nice little slip and a roll. And look at the expression on his face. Bang! He means every inch. He wasn't breathing at that point, was he?
No, not at all. He was throwing that to finish the fight. And as soon as Sam Stout started to fall, Ross Pearson knew. I've worked with Ross a long time, and he's improving so much, so quickly between fights. Yeah. And one thing to watch out for is his footwork. Working with Dominic Cruz and those guys, he's very, very fluid on his feet, and that's added a lot to his striking game. Yeah, and Evan Dunham, another veteran of the game, a black belt as well, and he brings many different types of offence. Pearson. A very, very strong guy at this weight class. A first-degree black belt under Robert Drysdale, which is an achievement in itself. For sure. An aggressive fighter again, a bit more of a wrestling base. He likes to push forward and try and clinch and try and drag the fight to the floor. He does like the fight contested on the feet if possible, but obviously, as you can see here against Nick Lentz, he'll stand his ground and trade as well. But obviously, in a fight with Ross Pearson, he's going to know where his strengths are in this fight, and he's going to try and get this fight to the floor, I would imagine. It's going to be a real back-and-forth fight, but there's going to be a lot of exchanges, there's going to be a lot of positional changes, and I'd imagine we're going to see a couple of knockdowns as well. This is going to be a really exciting fight. Evan Dunham always has a good showing. Even in his losses, he always comes in and gives it everything, and you can say the same thing about Ross. Yeah, excited for that co-main as well. So, will Ross Pearson reaffirm that he is the real deal,
Or will wily veteran Evan Dunham show that he still has something to say in the UFC? As always, make sure you head over to unibet.com for a comprehensive package of pre-fights and live odds. So as well as those guys, Dan, plenty more as well, including some Scottish nationals fighting in front of their home crowd. I'm really excited to see how they perform at the Hydro.
Yeah, well, Joe Calderwood, I can't wait to see Jojo fight again.
Yeah, we found out that it was stuff outside the Octagon which may have impacted on her performance last time out.
That was
but she looked great in her debut.
She does. I mean, she's a great kickboxer. She's well respected in the strawweight division as well. All the girls know that she's a fantastic kickboxer. And she just has a fighter's mentality. You can get that from talking to the girl for a couple of minutes. She loves being in there, as does Stevie Ray.
As we found out with only a few days' notice, really.
Yeah, exactly. There was a big fight for him, and he showed a very well-rounded mixed martial arts game against Marcin Bandela, who, although he's a fantastic grappler, he doesn't have a lot of answers on the feet. And Stevie Ray showed a well-rounded game. He wore on him in every position and managed to get the finish. It was a big night for him, and especially you've got to consider taking it on, such short notice.
And black belt judoka Robert Whiteford, an ATT product. He spent some time at the All-Stars and obviously with the Dinky Ninjas. He is set and ready to go, been frustrated with injuries, so I know that he really wants to come and make a big impression in front of the home fans.
And it's always interesting to see a guy that goes away and trains. There's always a kind of like they want to prove themselves when they come back. They want to show that leaving home to go away and train was worthwhile. So he's going to come back with a bang from ATT and really show some skills.
Great stuff. It's going to be an adrenaline-filled summer with a big series of upcoming events. First up, TJ Dillashaw and Renan Barão finally reignite their rivalry as they face off for a second time in Chicago on July 26th. Then, on August 1st, the woman they call the most dominant athlete on the planet ventures into the Lion's Den. Rowdy Ronda Rousey faces off against Bethe Correia in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil at UFC 190. With both Nogueira brothers also in action and popular heavyweights Bigfoot Silva and Soa Palale set to collide. It promises to be a spectacular night, so make sure to tune in. We'll be back to preview UFC 190, and don't forget you can get involved by tweeting us at Unibet using the hashtag InsideTheOctagon. Enjoy Fight Night Glasgow, thanks for your company, and we'll see you soon.